everybody. We are live here. My name is Grant. I am the sales manager over here at Thunder Laser USA. And today I've got Sam Annable with me, who runs Uncharted Customs. Sam, if you don't mind, take a minute to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, my name's Sam. Uncharted Customs, my business I've had for nearly 4 years now. I do all kinds of stuff. As far as, using lasers, I combine those with CNCs, with printing, with so many different machines to make all kinds of fun stuff. I would say the biggest part of my business thus far over the years has been custom sign making. I went from really small household items to very, very large signs that go on the side of buildings. So quite the range and everything in between. If there's something that you can put in the laser, I've probably tried it, and I just love learning from it. So.
Yeah, and that's just the product making side, but there's also the social media side. Did you start that about the same time that you started your business?
Yeah, so my business started kind of on accident in 2020 when we all got sent home from our jobs and couldn't go anywhere. Didn't really have a whole lot to do. There was no sports to watch. There was just nothing happening. And my wife and I had just recently had our first child. She was not even a year old. And so we were bored, especially at night. And so I'd always had this entrepreneurial bug inside of me that I wanted to do something for myself, but never knew what that was going to be. And I had seen over and over on social media, just my own, personal channel of people using lasers to create small trinkets like keychains and just different customized, personalized things and selling them. And I told my wife, I said, I could do that. That's kind of my moniker, I guess, is I could do that. And so we purchased our first laser and started doing that in our basement at night. And then I was like, we should start a social media page, have our friends and families, follow it. And one thing kind of led to another where I started making these small things just for fun. And someone would ask, hey, can you make me one of those? And then one day I made my very own first 3-dimensional sign. It was about 8 inches round, probably about this big. And I cut out all the small pieces and hand painted it. And I was very proud of it. Posted that. And, someone locally said, I really like that. Can you make that, but bigger? And then I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I said yes. And so then I bought some tools, got out in the garage, started figuring out how to actually model those things and make them on my own. And it just kind of went from there. I really, really enjoyed doing it. And at the end of 2020, or before the end of 2020, I knew I wanted to do that full time. I quit my corporate job. And so I decided I was going to do that. And so the end of the year, I did. And January 1st of 21, started off on my own. I kind of rebranded from what I had just thrown together at first and created my social media page. And at first it was just me showing off what I was making, finished products. At that time, especially like Instagram, Facebook, those places, a lot of things were just pictures. There wasn't a whole lot of videos that there are now. It's just there were videos, but now it's just all video.
Right.
So it was a lot of picture posting and just showing finished products. And then that kind of evolved as I continued to grow. Started making some videos on how to do things, and then it just kept rolling. And so over the last several years, I've moved into this shop, which is now full from my little one-stall garage that I started in my basement. Now I have this place, which is, I'm almost out of this place at this point. But yeah, I've taken the social media and really just shared everything that I do, how to do it, regardless of what the machine is or tool, sharing how to do it, what the settings are, things like that. And it's really built a very large community. I think people have come to know that they can come to me for these things. They trust me for advice and for how to get things done. And I'm just continuously learning and sharing. I don't think that there's any point in time where I'm going to be done learning, because there's always something new to learn, and I love sharing that with everybody.
Yeah, and when we first crossed paths, I think you stood out to me because the energy that you had on Instagram was just out of this world. And I was like, man, I need to talk to this guy. I think at that point you might have had like 30,000 followers on Instagram. And now I looked a little bit ago and you're at 135,000. That's crazy. And when we did first meet, do you know about when that was? Was it 2021 or 2022?
Um, First time we spoke, it was probably 22. I mean, it's been about 2 years, a little over 2 years, I would say.
Yeah, so
Uh,
100,000 followers in 2 years.
it's definitely been I don't want to say meteoric because it's not that crazy, but it's been consistently growing always. There hasn't really been very many periods of non-growth.
Mhm. And a lot of that growth sparked, I think, from the Will It Laser series that you did, which we've talked about that several times. It took a lot of work on your end, a lot of energy. But would you mind like kind of talking about what you did with that Will It Laser?
Yeah. So when I first got my Nova 35, I have the 100 watts Nova 35. When I first got that, it opened up so many doors for me because it was a lot bigger than the original Glowforge that I started on, which was just slow and obviously limited to the bed size. But that's what a lot of people learned from and a lot of people had started with. But when I got that, it was just something that I wanted to, like I said, kind of give back to people, because had already started to get a little bit of momentum from sharing how to make certain things. And I had always seen people pretty much showing the same stuff, more or less. This is how you cut acrylic or the wood or the very basics. And I thought, there's got to be so many more possibilities of things that you can put in here and make with than just what people think of that's standard. Now, most people will use it for those standard things. However, I wanted to try to open up so many more doors for other people. And even if it was an item that maybe I wasn't going to take with and run, maybe someone else was going to see it and say, I really like that, or I feel like I could make a business out of that, or I could make that a product in my own business. And so one day I just decided that I was going to try to put something new in there. And I did it every week, every Wednesday for 52 straight weeks, one whole year. I shared the settings of the power and the speed, and in that Nova that I primarily use for every single one, but I put things in there, all kinds of stuff. Food,
Yeah, I was trying to think of some of
clothes,
the random things you did.
I mean, in the food category that I can remember, I know I did chocolate. I did Cheez-It.
Did you do a
I
pumpkin?
did. We did do a pumpkin. My daughter and I did a pumpkin for Halloween. She put a Halloween design on it. It was just like carving a pumpkin, except not carving it all the way out. She put the design right on the front there, put it on her front porch. It looked great. I did clothing. So I did a pair of jeans. I did cement. I mean, there's all kinds of things that I put in there over the course of that year that most people probably wouldn't ever think of. And a lot of times, to be honest, I would just walk around my house and say, what can I put in there today? I would get to the point where I committed to doing it every week on the same day. And I would get to Wednesday morning and think, I haven't recorded anything, but I'm committed and I'm going to find something. And so I would spend the time to do it. Sometimes it would work out very quickly. The more I did it, the better idea I had of what settings really to start with based on what kind of material it was. Now, it was always something different, but if it was a soft material or a hard material, I would get a better idea the more I did it. And so by the end of it, I was pretty dialed in. But at first, if I stuck something in there, I had to make sure that I had several of whatever that was that I could test on first before I actually presented the solution. And some of it worked really well. Some of it didn't work well. But I've had so many people over the course of that year and then even now that ask me, hey, have you ever done this? And overwhelmingly, the answer is yes. And I can take that video that I've posted and I just send it to them. And I say, here it is. I did this 37 weeks ago, still relevant. The settings are right there in the caption, and so many people come to me and ask for those things, not knowing that I did it or they missed it, or they're just new to following. But I get all kinds of questions like that, and it's really cool to have that basically library of ideas and things that I've done before, or something that might be similar that someone else is looking to do that I can share with them. I just scroll back, find it, and say, here's a good starting point at least.
Yep. And so those of you who don't know what we're talking about, he's got this Will It Laser series that he did about a year ago, and it's on Sam's Instagram, Uncharted Customs. But here recently, Sam's also been posting it to his YouTube, if I have that correct. All of them are going to be living on YouTube. So Sam started his YouTube, 6 months, a year ago? But here recently, over the past few months or so, you've started to post the Will It Laser series on there. So if you guys want quick access to those videos, go to Uncharted Customs on YouTube, and he's got the whole list of them right there. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I uploaded all 52 there, and then I also I pretty much dual share everything that I do. If it's from Instagram, also to TikTok and to YouTube Shorts. And then long-term plan is to start doing more educational long-form stuff on YouTube. Haven't quite got there yet with all the other things I'm taking on, but it's still in the plans. I have all the equipment to do so. But once I'm able to get there, hopefully before the end of this year, I'll start to maybe recycle some of that, bring back some of those things that worked really well, and do some more long form. This is like actually how you do it in your Lightburn program, and make adjustments and things like that.
Yeah, and I know your followers would like those videos a lot. Pam Warren is in here. She said, yep, I asked Sam a lot of questions. And then we've got Andres. He says that he loves the Thunder Laser brand, wishes that we had more tutorials on engraving photos. So Andres, look at House of Lasers on YouTube. That's Chris Acasio. He's one of our technicians. House of Lasers. He's got tons of videos on photos. He's one of the best in the industry at engraving photos, so go check his stuff out. One thing I want to touch on, Sam, is talking about what machines you currently have, and if we could kind of go in order of which those things happened, that'd be very cool.
Yeah, so like I said, when I first started this whole journey, I started with the Glowforge. It's the only thing I knew. My very next laser was the Nova 35, and it just kind of blew my mind because you only know what you know, right? And so when I only had that one machine, and then I upgraded to something that's not only bigger, but just 10 times faster and so much more powerful, it just totally changed the game for me. And so I went from that transition. At first I was like, well, I'm gonna keep the Glowforge just on the side, just in case I don't know how to, get this thing up and running. And I swear it was gone within the week after I got the Nova, because it just doesn't compare. And I was like, I can't actually do anything with this other machine that I can't already on this one, and faster. If I put something in the Glowforge, it's going to actually take me longer to do that than if I were just to upload several of those same exact files into one file for that Nova. So it really just it just blew things up for me, allowed me to go and do much bigger things, more materials, and a lot faster. From there, I now have the bolts, which you can probably see right there over my shoulder. So I have the Nova back here and the bolt right there next to my CNC. And that has been, was more recent, right when the bolt came out. Got that one into the shop, and that I primarily use now for engravings. I have kind of split a lot of the things that I do into cutting and engraving, and the bolt is bar none the best engraving that I've seen for so many different materials. I do a lot of tumblers on it. Recently just started doing some glass and acrylic, and it's perfect every time, and it's so fast at doing it. That those two are the primary machines that I'm using the most, in complement to my CNC and printers and different things like that are in here. But those two machines, I would say, are the most well used and consistent machines that I have in the whole shop.
Yeah, and to go in a little more detail on that, I know you've used the Glowforge, like you said, you've used the Bolt, you've used an X tool, you've used the We Create.
Yep.
All of those tend to get compared to each other. They're all generally in the same price range.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get your input, no bias, your honest opinion on what route you would go, saying prices are relatively similar, which one leads the pack and why.
Yeah. Um, so I get that question so much, like almost daily, from people that are either new or that have been following me for a while that are saying like, "Hey, I would really like to get into the laser uh, industry, into the business, and really take my business to the next level." Whether that's because they um, have something small already, or they don't have anything at all, or maybe they're just using a Cricut to vinyl things, or whatever. People are always looking to take that next step, and when they're taking that next step, they're asking me, "Well, what machine could I get?" And so my first question back to them, I always like to find out what they're trying to accomplish first, because I think answering that question without any information, which laser should I buy, does not make sense.
Yeah.
And so it's always for me, what do you want to make, or what do you foresee yourself wanting to do in the future? What's your budget? Is it a hard budget or is it flexible? And we can kind of go from there. I ask about what materials they want to do, and so it's a complicated question, a complicated answer. If the answer is I have $1,000 and no more, and I can't do anything with it, then I think there's pretty much a couple options out there for you. There's some small diode lasers that are in that price range, like maybe an X tool. That if that's just bare bones what you can afford, and I'm not going any further, then I would say look there. If they tell me that they can get up to 4 or 5K in that range, it's flexible. My answer is going to be the Bolt every single time, because it's the fastest, it's the most accurate. I think it's the most reliable. I think that Thunder has the number one support of any of them that I've ever dealt with. And so I think that if you can afford that bracket, I would say to go for that level. If it's going to be even greater than that, then you have a lot more flexibility. If you're trying to get more industrial, the Nova series is obviously a very good line to go with. I've been super impressed with mine over the last couple of years. I've never had anything go wrong with it. Like, honestly, nothing. The only thing that I think I've ever talked to support about was like a USB cable that had fallen through, and we got it figured out and pulled through. Like, there has been no technical difficulties. There has been nothing for me that something has broken on either machine, the Bolt or the Nova.
Wow.
And for me, that goes a long way. And I know if I needed that support, because a lot of people will ask me, "Hey, this is stuck on my machine," or maybe it's not focusing right, or whatever, and I'll try to help them. But I always know that in the back pocket is Thunder support. Email them, open that ticket, and you're going to get really quick response. I mean, I know some people have told me that they get a response from Chris like in the middle of the night. So that's really good dedication to the customers, and I don't think you get that in a lot of places, especially with a lot of the other companies that are fully overseas. So if you need something and you're working here in the United States in the daytime, you can email them and they'll email you back while you're sleeping, and then you email them back while they're sleeping. And so that doesn't always work the best. So if you don't have the best support, you're going to lose me anyway, because that's very important.
Well said. So the next thing I want to talk about, Sam, is can you think of one story in particular, something that's happened through the time of when you've got your Nova or your Bolt, where you have a success story or a milestone that was like top level? I really would like to share this with people. This was something great that happened.
Yeah, so I've had a couple instances where, I've had the opportunity to work with either a large company or something really cool. So right when I moved into this shop, I worked on some items for like professional baseball team. That's been a while back, but even more recently, I just made these basically a framed piece that showed a map of the United States with all the locations of this restaurant chain. And so they were opening their 100th location. They wanted to kind of commemorate that, and they asked me to basically make them a custom piece several times over, so they would have several of them in the corporate office and in different locations. But just having the ability to do those things and do them in a timely manner, because I think I made 15 of them or so, or 12, something like that. But I made them all at the same time. It was very, very quick. Now, I didn't fit them all in the laser, all the sheets and parts at one time, but I was able to batch those out very, very quickly, something I never would have been able to do with a much smaller machine. So stories like that of where I can be impactful to a big business and, put my stuff out there more and more. I mean, I've had several occasions where I'm just making one thing, but one really important thing or one really large custom piece for customers that I think it's just awesome for me to create those pieces. And I do primarily most of it with those lasers. And so I will have some help from the CNC there for some of the thicker stuff and things that you can't put in lasers. But seeing here locally, even my signs on the outside of a building, like on the wall of a building, is pretty cool.
Right on, man. Another thing I think we can touch on is there's other people out there that maybe don't have a laser yet, but they have a CNC like you have, and you were also talking about maybe getting a UV printer. Could you speak to those people who are maybe considering getting a laser that have a CNC or a UV printer and how the two can be combined together, and the kind of products you can make and what that can do for your business?
Yeah. So like I just said, some of those really, really large signs that I've done are obviously outside. And so I will do a lot of that stuff on the CNC because it's like a PVC base, something you're definitely not going to want to put in your laser because of the chemical reactions and potential harm to yourself. But combining that with like mirrored acrylic or any type of acrylic really that you can put in your laser, get those exact cuts, the corners. I know with a CNC, the one thing that's really hard to do because it's a round bit. Any inside corner, no matter how small of a bit you get, is going to have somewhat of a round corner. It can do sharps on the outside, but the laser solves that problem. And so if you already have a CNC and you want to get more sharp corners on anything that's allowed to be in the laser will get that spot on each and every time. So I combine cutting shapes of much thicker material, like 1-inch PVC on my CNC, and stacking on whether that's wood or acrylic or anything else that I'm cutting on my laser to make those much, much larger pieces. And going into printing, yes, I would love to have a UV printer, something that I'm currently looking into doing. But I've seen so many people out there that use their UV printer. They will print on a piece of acrylic, for instance, so many different things, whether that's the keychains they're making or drink stirs or actual printed pieces that they'll stick on a sign. If you want actual photographs, pretty much anything that you can put on a UV printer is most likely able to be put in a laser to cut to shape. One of the things that I see just out and about when I go into restaurants or whatnot, a lot of them have acrylic pieces with standoffs up on the wall of their business history, and it's all UV printed on, but those are all laser cut pieces that have the holes precisely cut for those standoffs. And so you can combine all of those things to make a really unique product. And it's not just the CNC and UV. There's a whole bunch of different products out there that you can use. I recently combined a DTF printer with or a UV printer that someone else printed for me of like stickers and images that can go over top of what I'm working on. I just did some printing on a piece of wood to make an award, but combined it with laser engraved acrylic. So it really goes in every direction, and you can combine a lot of these machines that are out there to just not only create a new product but step up what you're already making.
Good deal. Well, one more question I want to ask you, Sam, is something that I'm sure your followers may want to know. Like, what are you working on currently, and what's next for you?
So currently, I am working on glass engravings on the bolt. I had an opportunity, or have an opportunity right now, to do some production for another business that is looking to outsource some of their items because of the popularity of it. They don't have enough production to produce them. I actually have an example here. Basically, these are whiskey glasses with photo engravings on them. So I've been dialing this in. This is done all on the bolt right there.
That detail is amazing.
Happy to share those settings with anybody that wants to reach out. So that's currently what I've been doing the last week or so. I just got into 3D printing. I just set up my first 3D printer yesterday. I've got another one that came in. And for me, like I said earlier, it's all about learning. I love learning how things work and how I can put those to use to not only help my own business, but to help everyone else out there. I was just using the 3D printer, but I'm still learning to print these. I got one right here, like the hold downs that go right into your honeycomb bed there on the laser, just to hold down the pieces. And so it's things like this that you can create to help work with all of your other machines. And so it's kind of me learning how to do that and make it one, I guess, ecosystem running of all these machines that are combining together to make one single product. So hopefully in the future, I will get into UV printing at some point. I want to do and learn as much as I possibly can, and then obviously share it back with the community.
Yeah, which kind of goes into how you led this. You don't want to say no. You like to say yes. So you're going to have all the toys that you can possibly have. So if somebody asks you to do something, the answer is yes. It's very cool.
Right. That's right. And I think that for me and the way that I've been able to grow, as we talked about earlier on social media, is because it's not just one thing. I'm not just showing off the same type of thing over and over. I've kind of formed my business to be about half product and half of content to help other people. And both are paying off. They're both, helping me get to where I want to be. But I enjoy the learning of it. And because there's always new innovations, there's always new things coming out, whether that's, just recently the bolts over the last year, new machine for Thunder. There's going to be something else, down the line, whether that's lasers or CNCs. There are always going to be upgrades. There's always going to be people trying to innovate and making them better. And that's what I love, learning and figuring out and sharing.
Thanks for chiming in, Sally and Rob. Appreciate y'all. Well, Sam, that's all the questions I have, man. I really appreciate your time today. Y'all, please go check him out on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. It's Uncharted Customs. Sam really wants to help people. His content, like he said, he's doing something different all the time. Everybody's got something that they can take from his stuff. So thanks, Sam. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. See ya.